have neighbors that are elderly, and their only source of storm warnings is from TV or radio. And if they can't get those, their lives are gonna be in danger. So I know that has not been addressed, and I hope that you would figure out a way to address that situation because it's a life-threatening one.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I have something to say, of course, about the wind turbines. What else do I have to talk about this week? Okay, so first, I just want to talk about how I've been told by people that I do not have the right to care what people do with their property. But I would like to point out that I very much believe that I do because my tax dollars are paying for it, and my energy rates have gone up and will continue to go up because of these wind turbines. So I'm paying for them, so I do kind of have a say in this turbine issue. Second of all, I'd like to address Jamie Stahl's email to you guys and the agreement that is projected to be signed today. There's a lot of things that a lot of us think need to be addressed before you guys sign. First of all, in section 4, the project is not defined. This agreement could apply to additional projects because it's not really well defined. It just says 78 turbines. Well, is that 78 turbines completed by when and where? When of these easements have to be signed for this to be included in this project? Section 5, we think that this should include future projects so they can't use eminent domain on future ones. And if we want to talk about eminent domain, I don't know if you guys have read the Des Moines Register this week. I'll just read a brief part of this. It says, in the next few weeks, Iowa's highest court is set to decide whether eminent domain, the government's right to take land for public use in return for fair compensation, can be used to transport energy across the state. This particular case is about the Dakota Access oil pipeline, but the court's decision can have much broader implications for Iowa and the growing wind and energy industry. So I think, personally, if you vote on this today without any kind of jargon about eminent domain on future projects or anything in the county, you're not voting for anybody in the county because there are a lot of people that could be affected by this, and not just landowners that did sign the easements. Section 8. The word transfer is not defined. Transfer could be a lot of different things. We'd like a little bit more definition on that. And then in section 1 and 3, twice in this agreement, it talks about how the company has invested $10 million. We're not exactly sure why this is put into the agreement. We think it should be removed. If we're going to talk about how the company's invested $10 million, we feel like it should talk about the 16,000 residents that should have had a say in it. And then we'd also like it to include rules about shadow flicker and not having the wind turbines run at sunrise and sunset. They make special turbines now that actually will turn off. They have a sensor. So that would be an easy way to help neighbors that do not want these up be more at ease with them if they're gonna have to look at them. And then the last thing, another very important thing, is decommissioning and road repair. We really urge you guys to sign something before construction begins and before signing this to give them.
There's no way that a windmill company is going to bring oversized loads on our roads without an agreement in place. They can't bring an oversized load on our roads without permits from us.
Period.
And we're not gonna grant a permit until we have
An agreement.
The road thing, that keeps coming up, and that
So when is this agreement
issue.
gonna be signed?
before they do anything.
I thought last week we were told by them that we needed to sign this last week, because construction was gonna begin.
I don't think construction's ready to begin, but no,
Last week we were told that
Well-
it's gonna begin soon, so we just wanna make sure that's,
trust me, there will be a road agreement before anybody touches our roads with big equipment,
and it's gonna be access to the public, this agreement.
just like everything we do is.
Okay, and listed on the website before it's signed.
And approved by our engineer and our lawyer.
Okay, that's what we want to hear. But yeah, so overall, I think that we have felt, and I know we've said this a million times, so I'll say it again, we have felt underheard, we felt underrepresented, we felt like this was something that should have been brought to our attention. I just want to pull up the example of the Williamsburg High School gym. I know that was a city thing, not the county, but look how many times a vote was called, look how many meetings were called about that before that was voted on. And I
That's
just like,
because they were passing a bond issue. That's a different thing.
I know, but
That's
that
a total
was
different
a
thing.
huge public issue, and that was in the public.
But
And
that's a
this,
taxing issue.
Because it had to be.
yeah, and this should be in the public too. That's a gym that could, a lot of people.
That was done for bond issue purposes. That's different than these type of purposes.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's a public issue, the public should know. This is a public issue, and the public should have known that this first went on.
Okay, go ahead.
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, well, actually, let me give you one more thing while I'm at it. Since you guys don't have maps from the company, I'd like you to take a look at the maps of easements that have been signed in our county. These ones, not too concerning. When we get to Pilot, Sumner, Hartford, and Lincoln, look, I want you all to look.
Oh, you're got it backwards.
Ready?
Okay, here we go.
Looking up yesterday, looking at the easements online, reading the easements, 3 landowners produced 3,000 acres in this. How many acres are in this project? 20,000, 25,000, do we even know?
50,000.
50,000?
Yeah.
Let's make that known to the public.
It's been repeated ad nauseum in these meetings. It's 50,000 acres and 300 people.
Well, let's put it in the newspaper though. The people that come to the meeting, it's not.
She
We
is
have to
right
ask
here.
the newspaper.
Talk to the newspaper, we don't run the
And I
newspaper.
would guess it's been in there.
I don't know about the 1,000 acres part, but I've written that it's 300 people have signed it.
I think the number of acres is pertinent for people to form an opinion on this.
I'm not perfect.
I'm not saying you need to be perfect at all. We're all human.
And we don't get to write newspaper articles.
I know, but I'm just saying, in your communications, this needs to be public. In the minutes, put it down. If that's what's said, put it down in the minutes. We don't need vague ideas that someone just came. And that's all I'm saying.
Anybody else?
I'll speak up. I haven't really been able to do a lot of research, but the reason why hog confinements get extra feet versus humans is because it affects their health. It affects their fertility. That was one thing that I ran across, but I don't have the actual document, so I haven't been on the computer. So I think we need, to consider how much of the footage that we're putting, these 300 residents, was it? I don't think new people want to be next, people that are planning families want to be next to these wind turbines. I would recommend that my son or daughter not be 400, is it 400 now? 15?
650
Well-
from a property line.
Okay.
But 1,600 from a non-participating.
But it's 2,000, isn't it, for the,
No.
no? Okay.
No.
Well, I stand to be corrected then.
I just wanted to state this. I'm a farmer, and I've been a farmer all my life. I've taken good care of the land, and the land has taken care of me. I know of big farmers, and I don't call myself a big farmer, but they are totally against this. And I don't know why you people are so blindly on that. You're dealing with people that have small acreages and don't care about the land, that are willing to sign up for this. Because they go in there, they raise, I'm gonna try to keep this civil here, but they raise heck with the tiles, they raise heck with waterways, and they're gone, and they don't care about a darn thing after they've left. And you can't get a hold of them, because what do? They turn around and sell it out to somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else. Today, when you sign this, how long will that last before it's been subleased to somebody else? You don't know who you're dealing with, and you're going to feel the consequences. And we've elected you people to help protect us. And what are you doing? You're just looking at the dollars. That's all you're looking at. And I am representing my Kester Farms, and I'll be damned if I'm going to sign anything with those people, whether it's an easement or anything else, because then you're giving up your so-called honor and dignity.
Anybody else?
How long does the easement last?
How long do the easements last? 40 years, I think, aren't they?
20, the initial is 25. and then
25
there's a-
years.
There's an additional add-on if we continue.
Is that a one-time 10-year extension, or can it be extended by 10 years multiple times?
Do you want me to answer, or?
Okay, I don't-
It's up to a one-time.
Just
At
a
this point.
one-time, and they cannot extend it beyond that?
they could make a new agreement, I'm sure, but
Mhm.
But that specific easement is out, and the landowner would be free of, get their rights back.
Yes, after the initial 40.
Initial 40?
I thought you said it's 25.
25 and then, well, do you know the easement?
I do.
Okay. I don't know the easement. I haven't looked at it in quite some time. That's not my area. But I know there's an initial, I believe, 25 years, and I believe there's an addended 15 years if they so elect to continue it.
But it's 10, if you look at the easement, it's 25 and 10, so that's 35 years, so it's 40.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
so it's
Well,
just the one.
25 and 10 is 35. So
Yeah.
you're telling me something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so so beyond
Which
those
is-
35 years, they're
Okay.
free of they get their rights back.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
These easements, do you have to get permission to build buildings or plant trees? I'm asking that gentleman right there.
Right. I'm unaware of that. I don't think
You
you
don't
have.
deal with that, do you? Or do you?
No, I don't. I don't deal with the easements.
So we don't really know.
They do know, and the landowner who signs it knows exactly what they're allowed to do. Have you seen one? It sounds like you've seen one, so you can tell us.
An easement
Yeah, it does say that.
It says what? They have to have permission.
To plant trees, make a building,
it's-
or participate in activities that could affect the wind turbine.
If it's within vicinity of the wind turbine, if it affects it, yes. So you can't plant a tree right underneath the turbine. But if you go to plant a tree across your land, which is far away, I don't think they have a right. Per the agreement or easement, I don't think they can stop you from doing that.
But you have to get their permission.
I'm not necessarily sure of that.
Ray, you signed one of those. What is the situation there? You have to ask them if you want to plant a tree or build a building.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Pardon?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But I don't know. I know a lawyer reviewed before we signed it, so
Did you ask that question?
the lawyer, trust me, points out everything in an agreement, so,
And did he say anything about that?
no.
I have a gentleman in western Iowa County that took his contract to his lawyer. His lawyer didn't see an issue with it. A friend of his took it to the same lawyer a month later and says, I don't think I'd get involved with that. The same lawyer.
I know when you look through the list of easements that have been signed, at least 3 of the people that signed them were prominent lawyers from this county, so they must have been okay with them. It's on, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, they don't live near it either.
They don't,
Anything else?
I'd also like to talk about wind rights and what that's gonna implicate in the future. Other states have gone through this where you purchase your wind rights over your property because technically your wind that's fueling this turbine is going over my property. So I just want to bring that to your attention that's next phase. Because wind has to fuel these, so then you purchase your own wind rights. Just to be aware that could be a whole nother can of worms that's gonna come up in the future.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, like this gentleman that's sitting over here now, how long have you been with the company?
Give me the answer.
So,
I started in October 2015, and I think I was out here November or
December.
I know it wasn't December. It was a bad month, but I was here short. I was here in fall of 2015. That's how long I've been with it.
a little over 3 years.
Yeah, next time we ever have a meeting like this, you won't be here probably. They'll send somebody else.
What? What's that?
As a Mid-American will.
It's us and Mid-American are on the project. I may or may not, it just so happens I'm going on vacation, and I'll be gone next Friday and the following Friday, but then I would be back through until we hand the project over to Mid-American, and then they'll take it from here.
Well, where are they at today then?
We're not entering into any agreement with Mid-America today.
But they're gonna transfer this agreement to them, correct?
Everything.
Well, where in the heck
everything
are they
lies
then?
over.
That's who we're supposed to be dealing with down the road, Mid-America, and who are you with over there, buddy?
Hey, keep it civil. You can keep it civil and say anything you want, but you need to keep a civil tone. All right?
I'm with Invenergy. We're a wind development company based out of Chicago, Illinois.
And another thing I'd like to bring up, we were, sent a letter by Mid-America wanting to purchase ground for their maintenance or their garage. We live east of Williamsburg. Why do they want anything by us? The turbines are going west of town, and we live east of town. So are they coming east of town?
Not that I'm aware of.
What's your best guess on that?
I was told, they're looking for flat land with pavement.
Well, I'm sure there's some out west of town that would work there.
They tried for the county home and we turned it down. So they're going all along there, they talked to property and then they talked to other people too.
They've talked to people in Williamsburg, signed in Williamsburg, right?
So they're going around, what I know, but they're going around the surrounding area, anybody, a flat spot in our highway. They're looking for they were told to me 3 to 5 acres to put up a maintenance building.
You want water,
Water and sewer, yeah, we didn't have any of that.
They don't want
gas,
it. They don't want it.
electric?
Yeah, that's like in-town stuff. We don't have
Yeah,
anything at rural. Cause we told them you'd have to put a leach field in, dig a well.
right.
We don't,
Why, do they look east any further, or west any further then?
it has to be on the highway, is what they were told me. I don't know how far they went. I just been contacted by a couple people. And he asked me what the deal was, and that's all my knowledge is of that.
I have one thing. Can you read me whose signature lines are on that agreement for today?
Diamond Trail Wind, excuse me, Mid-America Energy.
Mid-American Energy, but we're not entering an agreement with them today? If they have to sign, are we entering an agreement with them?
The agreement, well, I guess part of the agreement, because Mid-America has the part where they're agreeing not to use eminent domain.
Right. And everything we sign with Invenergy goes over to Mid-American.
Mm-hmm.
But the main reason is for the eminent domain part.
But if they are signing it, shouldn't they be here listening today? Shouldn't they be here representing themselves?
All we're doing today is signing what we agreed to last week.
Yeah, everything we
so-
voted
So
on
you're
last
signing
week.
it either way, there's no,
Okay, so what I passed last week was the motion was to sign the agreement with the changes that we wanted, according to the attorney, and we wanted, there was 3 changes, I believe, right?
mm-hmm.
And once those 3 changes were made, then we would sign it today.
So
the
no
motion
other,
was made last week.
but no other changes can be made. It's not possible.
I suppose you could make changes, but, I mean, we've had it to their lawyers, both of their lawyers, and then to our lawyer. And then we got the changes made, both of their lawyers, and then back to our lawyer. And so,
So we're gonna sign this document for a project that's not even defined and not worry about eminent domain on other projects? What happens when they get another quote-unquote project going? Get eminent domain on that to connect it to this one?
there is no, they have a defined project zone.
What's that definition? Does anybody have that?
I do not have it.
Do you guys have it?
Our company does, yes.
Yeah.
is that our county's signing on.
When we show the site map to the supervisors, it'll be public material. It's not public right now, so you can't see it. It's private between us and the landowners that we're working with.
That's because that negotiation is still ongoing, hasn't been finished.
Right.
You still don't know for sure.
Exactly where everything's gonna go.
So we're signing something today that we don't know where it's going, correct?
We're saying something that sets some parameters for a project that they're going to do, which is setbacks, that they can't use eminent domain.
On this project.
Right.
But isn't it true that other counties and this county could, if they wanted to, have asked Invenergy for the site map before any agreement was made? There's other counties that require a site map, at least a rough idea of where the turbines are going, what size they are, all kinds of, there's other counties that do that. It's possible for this county to do that if you wanted to. I really have a hard time understanding this, don't ask, don't tell policy that you guys seem to have. You haven't asked them. They've told you they have the computer models that show where the shadow flicker is going to be. They've had computer models that show what the noise is going to be. They have all kinds of information that you could have asked them for before you made a decision, and you just haven't. And the only reason I can think of that you haven't is because you don't really want to know. You don't want to know how much shadow flicker and how much noise there's going to be. You haven't addressed any of those issues in the agreement at all. You just keep saying, well, the setback will take care of that. But you don't know because you haven't really asked for the models that show that. And I really have a hard time understanding how you can say to a certain segment of this county, you, and you, we don't care how you're affected or what happens. As long as we get our tax revenue of $2 million for the county, we don't care what happens to you. We don't care if you have shadow flicker. We don't care if you have noise. After this is done, you're just going to have to deal with it, and it's not going to be our problem anymore. You can go to Mid-America, and what are they going to do? Because you don't have anything in the agreement to address those issues, nothing, except a setback that you say is going to take care of it, but you don't know that. And so I don't understand why you don't want that information ahead of time. Can anybody answer me that?
Did you watch the best practices video from the Iowa
They
Environment?
are a pro-wind advocate. They are an advocate for wind power, John, and I showed you proof of that on the computer.
And everything you want to give me is anti-wind.
Everybody
No,
involved in that is
No,
not
I gave
pro-wind.
you, did you read what I gave you last week?
Yes.
Was that pro-wind, was that anti-wind? It was from Vesta.
Right.
Vesta is not an anti-wind company. Vesta makes the wind turbines.
I'm aware.
All right, did you look at it?
Yes, but how every time we address something, you change it to something else?
No, I just found that information. Why didn't you find it ahead of time? Why didn't you guys contact Vesta once you knew that that was the kind of turbines? You should have been doing that, not me. I'm just a citizen. You are supposed to be responsible for people's safety in this county. And you don't care if people's signals are interrupted and they don't get weather warnings. They could get killed by a tornado because they didn't know about it, and that's okay with you. Is that okay with you, John?
Apparently it is, yes.
Okay, we got that on tape then. John doesn't care if people get killed by tornadoes.
No, it's on
because of
Facebook Live. You don't have to worry about being on tape.
There's a lot of people that
I'm
can't make
aware.
these meetings
It's
that
fine.
want to put their input, and they give me their input so I can speak on their behalf because they can't take off work every
Great.
Friday. So I'm just trying to involve more than just the people that can make this meeting.
So-
We just like to have a balance, with pro and con, and especially on your website or whatever. These are things that can happen. They've happened every place else numerous times. And nothing like that is being said. All we're hearing is the propaganda from the companies. It's like the fox in the chicken house.
What are the 3 changes you made?
I believe it was, there's eminent domain, people wanted that included.
Speak up, please.
Oh, eminent domain, people wanted that included. And the other, I know 2 of the other things we discussed is that there will be a road use and a decommissioning plan. And I know those are being worked on, the county engineers, concerned with the road plan right now.
That's basically it, yeah.
Yeah, I
So the
think those
eminent
are 3.
domain and The agreement
I don't
does
think
not
there's anything
supersede or
else.
replace the understanding that Mid-American will provide the county separate agreements for road use and
Yeah.
decommissioning.
That's only two.
The road commissioning and or the decommissioning and the road repair.
And the eminent domain.
That's two, and eminent domain is the third one.
Yeah,
Says an eminent domain will not be used for the siting of the turbines.
right.
Or underground floats.
And I guess I want to rephrase what I said before. Why aren't the pros and cons put forth? Why don't you put that on your website? Because we hear from the company, and that's all pro.
Nothing on our website came from the company.
No, but you got sources
You
from
have
one
sources
of the
there, and the
universities.
company don't.
Not from the company.
They put it out,
No,
yes.
none of
Well,
that
it's
came
not
from
a
them.
company, but it's a,
No.
it's a pro-win
The-
group.
It's
The
It's the
one thing
Iowa
came from
Environmental
the University of Northern
Yes,
Iowa that we put
University
on
of
there.
Northern Iowa.
Yes.
Right
That's
here,
one.
he researches and advocates for policies to expand wind transmission. That's one of their staff members, that's what
He's
they
an
do.
activist for wind.
That's one of their staff members.
Yeah, State Senator Eric is the lead on it.
And then it says, and the work of wind energy advocates, including the council, have contributed to Iowa's clean energy leadership and wind resources.
Well, you've got to remember that our governor, our senators, everyone at the state is very pro-wind.
Big mistake.
I don't know, but
I'm
they're very
saying you
pro-wind.
have not presented both sides, you've only presented one side of the issue. That's what her point is. You present a very one-sided.
We presented the best practices that we got from
From a
you and I,
pro-wind.
and from,
From
we put on
pro-wind.
a webinar that they put on, which included zoning commissioner, or the zoning director from Blackhawk County, and I thought that was a very balanced presentation.
I watched that presentation, and did you notice the part where they said one of the main complaints that they get is the blinking red lights, and that there's a way to address that? Because that was in your webinar, but I didn't see anything about that in your agreement. So you're just picking and choosing the pro-wind parts that you want, and it's not a balance at all.
All right, so we need to keep moving, it's after 9:30. We've got the approve and authorize chair to sign agreement with Diamond Trail.
Doesn't matter at all of us here, and there's a lot of other ones. Today was a terrible day. We had to stop on the way over, it was raining so hard. And is there any way, do you have anything to say about what is gonna sign today?
I'm not taking part in the discussion or approval to sign, so I guess that's up to everybody else. And I will ask that they authorize the vice chair to sign, not me.
Okay. Well, we've taken part in it. We had the amendments put forward that we wanted to get agreed to in the project, and so we're moving forward if it passes. So I'll make the motion that we accept the agreement with the changes
And authorize the vice chair.
and
to
authorize the
sign.
vice chair to sign.
I will second that motion. This is containing the things that we already said last week that we would
That we would
include.
do.
Is there any discussion from the board? Call a roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Mhm.
Kevin?
You go ahead.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Abstain? Ken?
Abstain.
Adams?
Aye.
Pope?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Frank?
Yes.
Okay, it's over and done for there. When are we gonna get a resolution for the rest of Iowa County?
You mean an ordinance?
Ordinance.
Ordinance, whatever
Um,
it's called.
Just Kevin.
Kevin needs.
When are we gonna get that? It should have been in place 3 years and get that done?
It'll be done.
When?
Well,
What
ordinances
timeframe?
take time. I would say by this fall, but I don't know. It's gonna be,
Because there's more coming, whether it's them or somebody else, there's more coming, and get something in place and get people informed so that they know what they're doing.
and as we've said before, I mean, I'm not gonna doubt you that there might be more coming. I mean,
Easements were signed Monday, more easements. Do you know that?
with Invenergy,
With Invenergy, not with Diamond Trail. Why is that?
because they're redoing some of the easements.
They're not redoing it. These people were not signed before.
But
I look at the website and
I
I
have no
actually, I do my research.
I have no idea.
But I'm just saying, you don't know. So we need ordinances to protect the rest of these projects that want to come in. And we need it now, because they're coming. They are.
It's been in the minutes too, there is our intention to do an ordinance for future projects.
So I guess I'm not really
And that
smart.
ordinance could end up being that we'll put a moratorium on windmills ever being built here again. I mean, that could be an ordinance.
Good.
So I guess I don't know how this, I don't know how this works though. Like, so how does an ordinance start? What's the beginning process of that?
You have to have a open public meeting
Oh,
or a public
ordinances,
hearing?
we have to
We have to have three readings.
public
Yeah,
hearings.
that's what I
sometimes.
thought.
In general, if we do an ordinance on something, we have the county attorney draw it up. Normally, he will draw from other counties, what they do, trying to figure out their best practices, and there's other resources that county attorney has. He will put together an ordinance under our direction on the things that we want to see in it. I mean, it's not his idea, he takes our ideas, puts them into an ordinance, and then there has to be published, there has to be 3 readings of it that are all public. So ordinances take time.
Yeah, but what chance have we got when all 5 of you vote for it today? I mean, do we have to wait until we have another election so we get somebody else up here at the table that's for us?
Wait for an ordinance?
For an ordinance.
No, there'll be an ordinance, I would guess this year. I mean,
Well, it's up to you, you should have some idea what that would be.
well, I'm saying, I think it will be yet this year, done, but like I said, it takes time.
How much time is the least amount of time you think it would take?
3 months probably.
All right, we're doing our UV ordinance next.
So, I mean, yeah, it takes time, but, once the process is started, any new wind company that was coming in, they would be, unnoticed that there's gonna be an ordinance done before you ever get anything started, so.
Well, put that
But
on
like I
the
said,
list.
that could be, it could have anything in it. We could decide to have a mile setback, a half-mile setback,
Or just
or a moratorium saying, hey, we're done with windmills here.
But there will
Or-
be public hearings
I mean,
on this, right?
There's 3 readings on it.
Well,
Public hearings.
What was just passed now, how far does that restrict them as far as coming into the city of Williamsburg?
2 miles. They won't, the agreement states they won't come into the 2-mile zoning of Williamsburg. If they did, it would be up to the Williamsburg zoning board to deal with, but
How about the surrounding area of Diamond Trail? Where is the border of Diamond Trail, I guess is what I'm asking.
where can they go with that? No?
Is that going to continue in that area?
This agreement is for this project, and I'm sure this project is in a contained area, so yeah.
So it will stay within that area.
Unless they go to work and sell their rights to some other company that starts moving in.
Well, this project's gonna be sold to Mid-America. Mid-America has never sold a wind farm yet.
This is a factory.
Wind farm, factory,
It's not a farm.
well,
The
that's what
farm
they
is
call
what
them.
we do. This is a factory.
I mean, it's an industrial thing, there's no doubt.
Do we know the contained area?
There's a map out there that somebody made that shows where FAA had approved them being, so I guess we know that area.
That's not,
Can you guys tell us what townships that you are in?
I can tell you.
Okay.
You want the list?
But just because they have an easement somewhere doesn't mean they're gonna build there.
No, but they have easements, so what are they gonna do with that? Why do they want easements on land they're not gonna eventually use for transmission lines, stations, or windmills?
Because to plan it out, they needed a lot of easements to know where things could fit.
Yeah, but
There's
still,
lots of houses
let's just
behind
go with the
easements.
facts. Let's go with the facts here.
I own
Hilton.
interest in property that's landlocked, which, you know, my family decided to sign an easement, which I own 25% of the farm. The neighbors didn't, so we're landlocked. Well, we made our decision, they made their decision,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no problem with that.
The townships that they are in: Hilton, Lincoln, Pilot, Sumner, Hartford, Fillmore, Troy, Greene, Honey Creek, Marengo, Washington, English, Dayton, Iowa, and York. What I find interesting is how I know that, and none of you do. That's what I find interesting. I've spent from 6 o'clock in the morning till midnight with maybe two-hour breaks on this week, figuring that out and figuring out other information.
It sounds to me like they got the whole county wrapped up.
There's some townships only have 1 or 2 little parcels, but they're in there.
Boy, I tell you,
I think
you,
the
the
question-
board, are really disappointing to me. Really disappointing. We voted you in, and there you sit.
I did.
I voted.
I want to address that. What are we thinking here about the people that are wanting it? They're not going to show up. You know that.
Why
Oh,
not?
because you guys are the same
Oh,
ones.
we've intimidated it. Oh, big deal.
Okay, well, I know they're not gonna show up. I know some people that probably in the 80s, when the farming was bad, they should have been buying life insurance, and this is their life insurance. And they're paying for their farms with it.
But they're affecting the rest of the Iowa counties.
Well, but you don't
They're
want,
affecting
you
the
know,
rest of
I'm
Iowa
sorry,
counties.
I
It's
just,
not just their life insurance, they should go out and buy life insurance then. Go out and buy it. And they don't have to have a wind turbine on their land.
Vicki, I've never said to any of you to stop all wind in Iowa. I've never said that. You know I haven't. I've come to all of you and said, I want the people who signed up to be able to get their easements, but I want the rest of the county protected. It's always been about safety for me, and it's always been about what's best for the county, and I'd hope that you would feel that way too, but there's so many things that have been left out, and there's so many questions that you should have asked that you never asked, and I, like I said, I just have a hard time understanding that, and I hope that you guys would make a moratorium against all wind turbines until you can get an ordinance in place that protects all the citizens of the county. And you know, some of these people that signed up, they didn't know that they were gonna sign up for 600-foot tall turbines, because Ray, you didn't even know it till just a couple months ago that they were gonna, none of you knew that they were gonna be, nobody knew that they were gonna be 600 feet tall. Nobody knew that. It was never brought up, and so I don't know how many of those 300 people would have signed if they knew that they were signing up for 600-foot tall industrial wind turbine with spinning blades 200 feet long. They weren't told that.
But in the end, does it matter if it's a 4 or a 5 or a 6?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
how much difference does
Yeah,
it make?
it does.
Because the difference,
That's what you're supposed
It
to be
makes-
able to tell us.
the difference it makes in the amount of turbines we have to have for a 600-foot versus a 500-foot cuts it by, what, 30%? Something like that, roughly?
And that's true, John, but it also makes a difference in shadow flicker, it also
Right.
makes a difference
And
in noise, it
And
also
we
makes
did
a
look at
difference
all
in
that, and that's why
setbacks.
we use the setbacks, because all the setbacks that the state says are good enough are like 1,000 and 1,200 feet. And we went well beyond that.
The state didn't say that, a pro-wind group, the Iowa Environmental Council said that, and they said that because they said it makes it harder for them to bring a wind project into a county, it makes it, and all that might be true, but that shouldn't be your primary concern. Your primary concern should not be the money or whether the wind projects are gonna come here. It should be the safety of the citizens of our county. That should be your primary concern. And I don't see that because you have not addressed, there's going to be shadow flicker. There is going to be, and if you'd asked him, which you did not, for the computer model, it would have shown that. And then you could have addressed that issue, because just setbacks alone don't take care of, shadow flicker can happen from a turbine almost a mile away. So there isn't any setback you could make that's gonna address all the issue of shadow flicker. And if you'd done your homework like you said you did, John, you'd know that. You'd know that, because I know that, and I tried to give you all the information I had available to me, and you guys had an opportunity to get a lot more information than I ever can. You just didn't ask. You just didn't ask. It's like a don't ask, don't tell. And that's what I can't understand. That's what I can't understand. I don't understand why you would let the people of this county suffer that because you didn't take the time to ask. And you didn't take the time to address it in an agreement. And that's what disappoints me. Because I think you should be representing all the people of this county, not the 300 that signed, and not the ones that are here, and not the ones, the whole county, everybody, everybody.
And not represent the company.
Two questions. How many megawatts is it, New Turkey?
The 600-foot ones are 4.2.
4.2.
Two, something like
And the
that.
smaller ones are 2.4,
Right.
2.4, I think.
So it's almost double.
The July 22nd, 2015 ordinance, was there 3 public hearings for it?
Yes.
We went through the newspapers of the Historical Society, if they've saved every issue, we can't find it.
Or in the newspaper article.
Unless the second and third were waived, but it would have been published in,
Had to be published. It's a law.
probably says
Oh,
on
and
it.
the fine print in the public, in legal column.
We all realize right now we're poorly served in the Williamsburg-Marengo area because we don't have a newspaper.
Well, I put my subscription in for the new one
I mean,
yesterday.
Like I said, we all realize that. We wish there was a Williamsburg and Marengo area paper here covering us.
And I'm talking 2015.
There was then.
Yeah, he was here every time.
He never missed.
And then there's the other issue of we don't have computer service throughout the county. Unless you call getting 20 days and paying for 30.
That's a national issue.
That's something they're addressing.
They're trying.
There is a lot of new towers being put up in the county for those.
That's a nationwide problem.
The air turbines might not be helping either.
That's what I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was.
I'm sorry.
The people won't realize what they, and even you 5 up there won't realize what you signed up for until it hits. You talk to other areas of the country and they wish the heck they'd never seen them towers.
While their light bills go up.
I mean, why do we have to support Chicago?
It's
That's
not, the
in
power's not going to
Villages all over
Chicago.
there.
It's not.
The grid doesn't work that way.
Not as
Once
of
the-
yet.
There's no line to get to Chicago.
There's a
Yeah.
proposed
So,
line from
I
the Des
talked to
Moines
the guy
Register.
that runs the transmission line the other day, and he tried to explain it to me. So when the power hits the grid, anybody that wants it can take it. Anybody can buy it. But if they send it very far, it goes out as 181,000 watts, I believe, and it goes to a substation where they have to double it, because it's AC power, not DC power. So it loses current as it goes. Once it gets to that substation, they double it. And then they send it to wherever else. So it has anybody that, it could be anybody that buys it. Could be Alliant, could stay right here. It's fictitious that the power is going to Chicago. There's no way to get it to Chicago.
It's not as of yet, but there is a proposed underground line. If you read the Des Moines Register, there's a
Right.
proposed underground line that will eventually, their plan is to take it all the way to the
They're
East
also
Coast.
planning to try to change it to DC power.
That's a DC power. I don't know.
That's a
it's
DC
underground.
power issue.
Yeah,
That's
they're
not
talking
an
about
AC
that-
power.
Yeah,
that
but that's,
green
it's
line.
still talking about wind turbine power
Yeah,
from Iowa to carry it out east. So not as of yet, it is not.
And the reason we have wind power is because we have wind.
Other states have wind too.
Not, obviously not as, it's kind of like cattle and beans and corn. We can produce it, we can sell it. We have wind, we can produce it. So, I mean, that's not our decision. That was made way above us.
All right, well, we need to keep moving. Thank you, everyone, for your comments.